Inspired Recovery was a joy to create. It is a collection of true stories told to me by people with mental illness who have overcome incredible challenges in their life to achieve recovery. These people and their experiences are truly amazing, and it was life-changing for me to be a part of it. In the course of putting together this book, I had the honour of speaking to Tonya. Tonya is a wonderful, highly educated professional woman, and she experienced the first onset of bipolar disorder while she was working as a litigator at the Department of Justice in Washington. After the onset of bipolar disorder, she lost everything: her career, her income, her savings, her relationship, her self-esteem. She developed paranoia and she broke down completely. She found herself one night back in her hometown in North Carolina in a nightclub one Friday night, standing on stage, saying and believing that she was a scout for the Oprah Winfrey Show. She faced a place so frightening, so out of control, that one wonders how she ever survived, let alone thrived. She surfed the net to look for suicide options, ones that she felt she was able to carry out. But what she found instead was someone's true story of recovery from serious mental illness. She read that and another, and what she found, instead of suicide options, was hope. That hope gave her the courage to face her condition, to look at bipolar disorder and learn what it was, what its impact was on her, how to manage it, how to be well and safe. That knowledge empowered her, and her empowerment, she tells me, was the beginning of her road to recovery. I also had the privilege of meeting Marie, who is a walking miracle. She was abandoned at birth by her mother and went to an adoptive family for the next 16 years of her life. Throughout that 16 years, she suffered terrible physical abuse from her foster mother and sexual abuse from her foster father. She left home at 18 after a spectacular row and found herself alone in the world. That world was full of drugs and alcohol and homeless teenagers and prescription medications. She was subjected to a further rape, and a pregnancy followed that rape. And because she had no fixed income or place of abode, she had to surrender that child for adoption, which was a harrowing option for Marie, given her background. She eventually was diagnosed with bipolar disorder and complex post-traumatic stress disorder. She experienced incredible discrimination once that condition was known. A neighbour of hers of some 8 years called out to her over the fence one day, "Hey, bipolar, go kill yourself." Thankfully, Marie didn't comply with that. She carried on and instead went into therapy for the next 15 years, and she rebuilt her life. She found reasons to carry on, and she really discovered her love for life, her wonderful sense of humour, her fantastic social, outgoing nature, and she used those things that came to the fore to guide her through. She bought her own home. She earned a university degree. She worked with kids in care that have intellectual disabilities. She formed the Hawkesbury Bipolar Bears support group in New South Wales. Last year, she won an award for her contribution to mental health and was given that award by the Governor of New South Wales, who she also gave a copy of Inspired Recovery to, by the way. She's an activist, she's a sought-after speaker, and she's been sought all over New South Wales to help set up other support groups. She is a success by anyone's standard. She's an inspiration to anyone who meets her. Her friends call her sunshine, and she is. I had the wonderful opportunity to meet her in her home, and it was one of the most peaceful places I think that I've ever been. It was fantastic. And of course, in the book, we also talk about my mum, Julie, and it was my mum that inspired the book in the first place. She was born in outback Australia in the 1940s and was very shy as a child, had a lot of problems in school, didn't feel that she fitted in at all. As a teenager, she began to experience depression and anger at extreme levels. She was diagnosed with manic depression, which we now call bipolar disorder. Back in those days, she was told she was a manic depressive, so that label was given to her. She lived in a small mining town, and of course they had very limited facilities to deal with these sorts of things. So as a teenager, she was sent away on her own to the city, to a psychiatric hospital of the bad old days variety. She received every treatment at their disposal: drugs, counselling, shock treatment, padded cells, the works. And there was where her journey began in earnest. Throughout her life, she describes herself as a party girl. She drank, she partied, she was promiscuous, she developed a dependency on alcohol. She sought comfort and escape from her medications, which gave her horrific side effects. She was ill and very self-destructive. She experienced many complete nervous breakdowns. She entered a cycle for many years where she would break from reality, she would be institutionalised, treated, released, usually when still sick, and she would start partying all over again. She cut herself with knives and blades on her arms mainly when she was in her greatest pain. She attempted suicide many times. Thankfully, at the times that she was suicidal, her thoughts weren't well organised, so she was unsuccessful, but she came close many times. She gained thousands of scars, physical and emotional. In her early 30s, she started to experience hallucinations, visual and auditory, and was diagnosed also with schizoaffective disorder. Many people, of course, gave her advice along the way, friends and family. They told her it was really a matter of willpower, so you can imagine her disappointment when she was unable to will away her illnesses. Of course, they meant well, but they just didn't understand the nature of mental illness. So she decided on another approach. Treatment was essential, but could only ever do so much. She herself needed to take it further. So what she did was accepted her illnesses. Instead of fighting the fact that they were there, she accepted them. She faced what she'd found to be unfaceable and let go of her fear. She took control of her health and her treatment and used her own courage and positive nature to make the best of every situation. And some of those situations were harrowing indeed. Throughout the rest of her life, she's been diagnosed also with borderline personality disorder and generalised anxiety disorder. So it's been a difficult path. On a personal level, she's had 4 great romantic loves in her life to date. The first was my father, who she met at the age of 20 and they married. That marriage, though, marked the beginning of a cycle of almost constant abuse, physical and emotional. There was on one occasion when she was still pregnant that my father attacked her to try and kill the baby, but against all odds, I survived. She met her second husband while an inpatient in a psychiatric hospital. They were both in there together, suffering from delusions, and their marriage did not last. Her third great love was a man many years her senior, much older than her. They got married and he died within a couple of years from a stroke. Her grief was intense. She broke down completely. She thought happiness would never be hers. Her life felt to her as though it was a roller coaster of pain and desolation and that nothing would ever work for her again. But she bounced back. Again, she did it. And I saw what incredible courage really was. She took control of her life, she took control of her recovery, and she carried on. Just when she'd reached the stage of her life where she felt she didn't need a relationship, she was very comfortable on her own, she was comfortable in her own skin, she was feeling like a strong, independent woman, that's when she met her 4th great love. She describes this man as the love of her life. He had suffered from schizophrenia, but he was in a very good place when they met. His condition was well managed, he was considered in recovery. He was a kind man, giving, he helped others around him. Nothing was too much trouble. And what she found is that she could share her innermost thoughts and feelings with this man and he with her. So she could tell him all of her thoughts, no matter how deep and dark, just as they were. And she'd never done that before in her life. What she found from him was love and acceptance for who she actually was. Through that, she began to love and accept herself as she truly was. Unfortunately, a few months into the relationship, he woke in the middle of the night, he got out of bed and he died of a heart attack on the floor in front of her. Though this was devastating beyond belief, Mum did something different this time. She didn't ask why he was taken. She didn't hold on to a belief of the unfairness of it all. Instead, she was truly thankful from the bottom of her heart for the blissful time she'd been given to share something so special. She told me and everyone she knows how blessed she was for this time of love and great peace. Her gratitude was real, and it was this genuine gratitude that helped her manage the pain that even the most pragmatic among us would find hard to bear. She's in her 60s now, and her physical health is poor. She has asthma, she has poor eyesight, chronic fatigue, stomach problems. She has advanced arthritis that causes her daily pain in her spine, her hands and her feet. And she's the happiest person I know. It's because she's accepted her situation, her challenges and her conditions, and from that, she tells me, comes great healing to face life with an ease and flow, not a fight and a struggle. As a result of her life experiences, she tells me she fears nothing and no one, and this place, devoid of fear, is a wonderful place to be. She holds no grudges for past hurts that anyone has ever done to her in her entire life. She forgives others fully and completely. She sees everyone, all of us, as good people doing the best we can with what we know and the hand that we're dealt. I asked her about believing that everyone's a wonderful person. So how do you know that this is true, Mum? And she says because it comes from a place of peace within her, and no part of mental illness, high or low, has ever brought her a feeling of peace. It hasn't always been easy though. In times of great illness, the fallout has affected me, and I've sometimes experienced great pain. When I was a child, I wanted to save her. I wanted to be a good daughter, and I wanted to love her and have her love me enough to think that I was worth living for, so that she wouldn't try and kill herself. But she'd get sick and she'd try all over again. And I did know her well. I knew her very well. From a very young age, I was involved in doctors' meetings and case conferences because I knew where she was at. I knew when she was pulling the wool over the eyes, and I knew when she was being genuine, and they sought my advice and often listened. And it challenges you. Trying to support and care for a loved one with mental illness will take you places that you never thought you would be and give you feelings that you wouldn't wish upon your worst enemy. It keeps you up night after night, at home, in hospitals. It changes who you are. And it took me a really long time to realise, though, that despite loving them, I am not responsible for another person's happiness, nor are they responsible for mine. And my mother has the same belief. I have boundaries, and I manage myself within those boundaries, not other people. We, Mum and I, have a deep and loving relationship, a healthy one. And I wouldn't change any part of it. No part of it would I change of my experience, because having the opportunity to learn from and love a woman so remarkable, so loving, so enlightened, is not an opportunity that I would ever choose not to have. Hope. It brings me to hope. Is there hope? Yes, there is. Everyone has another chance at life every day. I have learned this and witnessed this. Every day gives us a new chance to create who we are despite our circumstances. My mum still has mental illness. She still needs to take medication, and she still has bad days at times, but she says that the bad days shouldn't ruin the rest of them, and she's genuinely happy. That road to happiness is different for all of us, but I encourage any of you who are seeking peace to pursue it relentlessly. Seek treatment, seek support, take control. Genuinely accept yourself and others, flawed as we all are. And I encourage those of us without mental illness to do exactly the same. There is hope, always, always hope. And it's my hope that Inspired Recovery reaches everyone who needs it. People who want to hear these inspirational true stories and share in these wonderful positive experiences. Those who need to know that we are never alone if we choose not to be. Recovery and happiness are possible. I thank you all for the gift of your time and wish you love and light.